Hey artists, today we're going to draw and paint a slice of pizza. Make sure you have a pencil, an eraser, a Sharpie, watercolor paper, watercolor paints, a glass of water, paintbrushes, and a paper towel. It's important to have the correct supplies for this style of painting, especially the watercolor paper and the Sharpie. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so first thing for our pizza, we're going to start about here and we're going to draw a big triangle shape. We'll start with a very basic triangle just like that. And then from that triangle, we're going to go ahead and round this corner like that and draw in some crust. So just kind of curve and kind of make a messy looking crust. Not perfectly straight, just kind of wiggly. All right. And then from there, we're going to draw from this point, draw a little bit of the bottom crust like that. And then we're going to start drawing in some melty cheese. So for the cheese, we're just going to draw from this top line. Just a couple little melty cheeses like that. All right. Then you can go ahead and take your eraser and erase the extra lines that are now inside the cheese melting spots like this. And also in the crust, you can see there's some lines. All right. Now we have the pizza. Now you can add your toppings. You might want different toppings than me. Maybe you want pineapples or tomatoes, all kinds of things you could put on your pizza. I'm going to go ahead and just do kind of the same toppings I did on my last one. Some pepperonis, some peppers. Not sure where squiggly lines, kind of looks like worms. And then a couple mushrooms, which are kind of shaped like this. So a line like this, in, and then around. All right, I think I'm good with those toppings. You can also add a couple little squiggly lines in your crust just to make it have some texture, and some polka dots. I did some polka dots in my pepperonis too with my marker when I went through, just to give those a little bit of texture too. But next thing we're going to do is take our Sharpie. We're going to go over all those pencil marks we just made. You can make these outside lines a little bit thicker. And then after that, we will go ahead and move to the next step. All right, I think I'm all done with my Sharpie. I'm going to go ahead and take my eraser and erase any pencil marks that I can still see. All right, now that I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and grab my paper towel. And I'm going to grab a paintbrush and we're going to go ahead and start painting. So we'll start with the cheese in the background. I did a yellow colored cheese, so I'm just going to grab some of that yellow and very carefully go around all of these toppings. I'm going to try not to get your paint inside of the toppings, but it's okay if you do a little. So we're just going to fill that in. Not a lot of shading here, maybe a little bit darker underneath of toppings, so like right in here, but you don't need to add too much shading. All right, I'm just going to keep filling this in around all these toppings. All right, once I was done with my yellow, I actually went back with a little bit of orange for my cheese and just kind of, oh, that was a little much. Just kind of added a little orange and mixed it in while it was still wet. I just thought that made it look more like pizza cheese than just yellow. But you don't have to do that if you don't want to. That's totally up to you. This is your art. Okay, so there's our cheese. Next thing I'm going to do is the crust of the pizza. So I'm first going to take my wet brush here and I'm just going to fill in some of that crust, and then I'm going to take some brown. You don't want super dark brown, so you can just get a little bit of paint, and then we'll kind of smooth it out here. Just like that. All right, for a little bit of shading, let's go ahead and just put some darker right in here, closest to the cheese and around this bottom part. And then we can just blend it in and leave this up here a little bit lighter. I also went in with my dark and kind of went over some of these lines and dots with some of the darker. And since it's all wet, it'll kind of blend in a little bit, but if you want to help it a little, you can, just by cleaning off your brush and moving that paint around just a tad. All right, then we'll go ahead with that same brown and fill in this crust down here. Again, not super dark. Okay. All right, next I'm going to take a little bit smaller brush and I'm going to work on my pepperonis. So I just took my red and started filling those in. Careful not to get into the cheese, especially if your cheese is still wet. So as always, you can make your paintbrush wet and then grab your paint and put it on, or you can make your paintbrush wet, kind of fill it in with water, and then add your paint after. Whichever you like better is best. Okay, got all my pepperonis done, so I'm going to go ahead and do my peppers next. I'm going to grab some green. Start filling those in. You can make it a little darker along the edge if you want. Do one more. You may have different toppings than I do too if you decided to put something else on yours. All right, last thing that I need is a little bit of brown for my mushrooms. I did this very, very light brown, just so that they weren't plain white. Oh, now you can see I made my paintbrush touch that red, so you can just take your dry brush or wet brush and kind of pick up some of that paint and it disappears. Okay. All right, I think I'm all done with my pizza. If you enjoyed doing this art project with me, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to see when I release new videos. I would love to make art with you again soon. Most importantly, keep creating. I'll see you next time. Bye.